welcome to the round 8 review after Carlton lose to Collingwood by kick, mate. Again, it's 12 goals 7, 79 to 12 goals 13, 85 in front of 88,000 people at the MCG Friday night footy. Fuck, man. Another loss. It's 2 in a row. It's 3 or 4. Just not good enough in the critical moments. So, yeah, that one stings. Man, I get way too emotionally invested in Collingwood. Way too emotionally invested in Collingwood. How can you not? It's part of supporting Carlton. It's the rivalry. It exists. It's a generational hatred. The animosity, the tension, it builds up. And I want it so bad. I want to beat them so bad. so bad. And we all do. But the reality is they're just better when it counts right now. I feel like I say that every time I review these games. On the fan cams last night, I realised that since we started doing the channel, we've only beaten them twice. They've beaten us 6 times. And I feel like I've been saying that exact sentence nearly every time. It's like rinse and repeat, fire up for the game, fuck Collingwood, this and that, and then just get shown up. Critical moments, they execute, we don't. We seem to go into our shell and we pay the price. I don't think it was obviously it was a devastating loss in the way it happened. You know, at the end, we almost pinched it. We'll get to that, but I still do think we are doing plenty right to win games. Having said that, that was the first loss of the season where I felt like our game plan and our opportunities to win the game were limited by the opposition. I thought in the other losses for the season, we had generated more than enough opportunity to win the game on the scoreboard, shots on goal. But this one wasn't. This was a systematic loss, and a little bit too little, too late. And we take that one, we cop it, and we just got to go again. That's what else are you going to do? Game started, week started the way it did. I thought a really interesting moment that I saw. Do you guys remember the Giants game when I noted that our backline were really tight in that warm-up? Obviously saying something in particular before that. I saw that again from the Pies this time. So during the player warm-ups and the player announcements, I saw the Pies back 7 in this really tight huddle while the rest of their players were warming up. I don't know if it meant anything. I don't know what specifically was said, but there seemed to be it was just a really poignant moment that I noticed while I was sitting in my seat. It ended up being pretty symbolic of the way that they defended, particularly in their back half, and the way that, all over the ground. But their back 6 was very well organised to counter, our dangerous forward line, or forwards, I should say. So I did notice that. To be honest, I thought the first quarter was good. I thought the way we started the game was good. I mean, it was a quality game of footy. I thought the forward pressure was a highlight early. I thought we were getting good entries. We were intercepting kicks from the Pies. I was pretty confident. I thought we had the game on our terms after the first quarter. Maynard kicks the first goal. That reminded me of McGovern, the back end of last year when we beat them. We got a goal from centre stoppage to Owies from a beautiful play from Elijah Hollands. Gave away a free kick to Elliott for his goal. Dacos gets a goal from, he kicked the winner as well, but he kicked another one in the first quarter from another defensive 50 stoppage for us. Just, we hadn't marked him enough, or maybe we got caught thinking that we had won the possession and got caught out the other way. We even kicked a goal off a Nick Dacos turnover. So we were actually generating exactly what we wanted. Pressure was there, forcing turnover, punishing on the scoreboard. We had a really good re-entry from a Lewis Young intercept mark, which ended up going to Harry for his goal. Charlie Curnow with a really brilliant contested mark. He kicks a goal. It was a good quarter. At that point, quarter time, looking at it, we've taken 5 marks to their none. Inside 50. We're getting on top in the uncontested game. Second quarter, Dave Cunningham strolling into our, forward third, we'll call it. Really nice play. Took a few steps. I think part of the criticism of us in the last few weeks is, we don't seem to have that poise. But Cunner's beautiful passage of play, takes his time, waits for the options to open up. He sort of thought his way through it, kicks over to Charlie. Charlie kicks a goal. At that point, I'm so confident that we've clicked, figured it out. We're playing at a really high level. You're playing against a high-level opponent as well, but we're playing at a really high level, game in control. And to be honest, after that goal, everything changed. That particular point in time, I didn't quite feel the same for the rest of the game. It was quite shocking how it turned from that moment. The Pies go on to kick 5 in a row. They kick 2 in a row before you know it, and then Cox takes a contested mark, kicks a goal. Lipinski puts them in front. Schultz marks it off that Charlie Curnow turnover goal. And then you blink and it's half time and we're down. Game is back in Collingwood's control. We're losing the hitouts at half time. I think it was 13-23. Inside 50s, we've only had 21 at this point. They've had 29. Otherwise we were winning the statistical game at half time, but the game certainly felt in Collingwood's control. And that pressure certainly dipped for us in that second quarter. Theirs lifted and ours didn't match. I don't know what happened. I don't know what they'll look at it in the review. But that second quarter, and for a big part of the third quarter, maybe the first little period of time, we didn't rise to the occasion. There was a dip in collective focus, in collective intensity. It ends up costing us. Third quarter comes around, we get a goal from a free kick to Matt Owies. I think it was a dump tackle from Braden Maynard. Could have gone either way, but we get the free kick, get the goal. The game tightened right up in that third. Zach Williams gets beaten on a lead to Jamie Elliott. Fortunately, he missed. And the Pies missed a few. The Pies missed a few crucial shots on goal that, to be fair, they'd been kicking for the majority of the game. Kicked a much-needed Matt Owies goal off the crumb. We talked a lot in the fan cams last night. We're talking about it for the last month. Our entries, they're shallow more times than not. They don't go deep enough more times than not. Is that instruction? I don't think so. Is it just the way the game plays out? I don't know. My guess is as good as yours. Charlie with a beautiful passage of play to Harry for another Harry Mackay goal. At that point, we're up by 4, 59-55. It's game on. We haven't played well for a quarter and a bit, and we start to see us getting back into the game. Harry takes a really strong mark. He misses that one. And then the Pies execute on the other end. Will Hoskin-Elliott hadn't really impacted much at this point. Beautiful lead, beautiful kick into him. Misses though. So it looked ominous, it looked dangerous, it looked like we were giving them opportunities, and it looked like the Pies weren't taking them. Then Orazio gets a free kick, has a shot on goal. Very similar to Hoskin-Elliott, hadn't impacted the game really at all, hadn't really noticed him at all. He misses, and it got super intense. And I've got to admit, at that point in the game, in the third, and for a big chunk of it, I found myself, after getting so worked up during the week, I found myself tensing up. Maybe the fear kicked in. Maybe it's the losses against the Pies. Maybe it's 2022. Maybe it's just those memories. Just that fear. There was a fear of what could happen, as opposed to sort of staying in the moment and enjoying the game. I did enjoy the game, of course. There with my brother and my sister, of course. I enjoy the atmosphere. I enjoy the spectacle. But that tension it's Carlton Collingwood. That's what it's about. But I definitely felt myself almost paralyzed, just silent, sitting there, like tense. And I, to be honest, felt that from the crowd. Not all of the crowd, obviously some of the bays, particularly in the cheer squad and up and about, but I didn't feel it reverberate around the stadium. Definitely not where I was sitting. There was a bit going on. There was a bit of back and forth. It was exciting. It's not that it wasn't, but it just, Collingwood have this war cry. We have a different kind of energy when we're loud. It's more after a goal or after a big tackle. But the reality was we didn't tackle with the same intensity consistently for the game. So there's something missing there. I guess when you see the opposition collectively get involved, and then you have our crowd, we don't collectively get involved for as long as the opposition. There are plenty of bays that do, and then there are a lot of bays that don't. I don't know what that is. It is what it is. Can it be changed? I think so. We just got to figure that out. That's a conversation for another day. Maybe we've got to sort something out. But I definitely felt how I was feeling was how I felt the crowd collectively sound, We had wrestled it back relatively in that third, get to 3/4 time, and it's just game on. I mean, anything can happen. Bobby Hill, who was pretty well held for the majority of the game, kicks a brilliant goal to start the fourth quarter on the run. I mean, he's a quality player. He's a Norm Smith medalist. Then Will Hoskin-Elliott kicks a goal. At that point, I'm thinking, mate, we're just not good enough tonight. Too many of the errors. I thought we played a high percentage game. We took the high percentage option as opposed to the brave option. What I've noticed from the Blues this season, more times than not, is our willingness and our bravery to use the corridor. Whereas in this game, I felt as the game tightened up, we started going back into our shells. It felt like we went down the right wing every time. So is that, obviously that's an instruction, not having a winger on the other. I mean, we kept going to the side that Blake Acres was on pretty much, which fair enough. Quality player, someone that they trust, didn't seem to be able to go down the other end. Maybe that's just what they wanted to isolate and but it just got so repetitive. We weren't using the corridor. The Pies, we weren't using the corridor because the Pies didn't let us. So how we open that up is a challenge. The Pies, the way that they move the ball up the ground, if it's not off turnover, they cut the angles, they lead on angles, they take the short kick, and then they go when they need to. They have a really nice balance of playing the percentages and then knowing when to go. They've got a really good feel for the game. Then we find something. Pies are up. Tom De Koning lifts. The game needed someone to lift. We just were getting beaten in the Charlie Curnow matchup. Pies were really well set up to defend him. We just weren't able to get him going at this point. De Koning kicks a goal. Then he kicks his second. He takes that mark on Frampton. He snaps, kicks another one, back in front. 73-70, game on. And I know it's frustrating after the game. We're talking about how poorly we played, but the reality was we set the game up early, which probably kept us in the game late. Scott Pendlebury, I don't know how he gets free. Sidebottom takes the mark. He's too far out to kick the goal. I don't know how Sidebottom is able to find Pendlebury. He tricked our defence. He points like he's going deep, but goes short to Pendlebury. Just little lapses in concentration, and that is becoming it has been a feature, and it's becoming a feature of how we have been losing games against the really good sides. You've got to play every possession. You've got to find a way to focus on every possession, and that was a really disappointing one. Pendles can't be free for a shot on goal when Sidebottom has slowed the game down. The game is completely stopped. Everyone is set up. It's not like they find him in space on transition. It was a dead ball. It was like not a dead ball, a dead play, and we got sucked into thinking that Sidebottom would go deep, and he just tricked us all. Pies back in front. Then bit of magic from Charlie, finds Cottrell, clutch goal, ties the game up. Not long left. And you're thinking, wow, we're gonna see a second draw in a row potentially. Then that passage of play, Harry takes a strong mark at half forward, wheels around, and like I was sitting on level 2, the play was right there. Charlie had a one-on-one close to the goal square. Harry, he went short. I think it's so interesting because we talk about lowering the eyes, finding a target. I think on that passage of play, I feel like they'll watch that back and they'll say, Harry, just go long, mate. And it's decisions like that from senior players. I found myself thinking, like, really? We're still learning that lesson? Misaligned. Game's tied, minute left, defensive 50 stoppage. Ball goes up. Cherry gets a hand to it, doesn't get full control of it. Walsh was marking Dacos in that moment. I think he maybe thought that we were going to win possession of the ball, but the reality was Cherry didn't get control of it. Pies had the benefit of being in their forward 50. Dacos reads it perfectly in a split second. Bang. Brilliant goal. Brilliant goal. I mean, crowd goes up and about. Game over. Siren goes. Pies win. Good game of footy. Entertaining. And the Blues are left feeling like yet another one slips away. We're close, and it's another reminder and a reinforcement of how fine the margins are at the top. We are talking about wanting to win a premiership, and in order to do that, you have to finish in the top 4. And so to finish in the top 4, you've got to play in games like this, and you've got to execute in games like this. And we're still a little bit behind. Definitely feeling the loss of the experienced guys that aren't there. And so in turn, while you're waiting for that, while you're waiting for those plays to come back, you've got less experienced guys in the team that you've also got to wait for them to learn their lessons to get better. So we're in that holding patch, if you will. And that's the game. That's the ball game. I think the disappointing part of all the stats was the tackle count. 54 to us, 88 to the Pies. And then that turns the conversation to, I mean, tackling is a mindset. Defense is a mentality. And so, what we pride ourselves on, the pressure and the contest, to get beaten in pressure and contest at the stoppages, that's disappointing. We had our best midfield there, both rucks, both big boys in there at times. Chera came back, and granted it's his first game back, so maybe a little bit of rust, but, didn't have the same synergy with him in there. 38 inside 50s to us for the game. So what's that? 17 the second half to 60 to Collingwood. You almost flipped that around last week. I think Geelong had 40, 45 inside 50s and made the most of it. We have 38. We don't make the most of it. 9 tackles inside 50 to their 21. So that tells you where the ball was, and that's that. Another lesson. Another harsh lesson. Another disappointing loss. I'm hoping that doesn't have their confidence drop. I think they're playing with confidence and belief. I just think we're not able to execute well enough. Somewhere along the line, the basics have got to get better. The fundamentals have got to get better. And yeah, the outcome is the outcome. I think the reality is, they've just got to play as hard as they possibly can for every possession. I think the last 3 weeks in particular, because of the quality of opponent that we've played, it's really reinforced how important each possession is. It's hard to win a game of footy, let alone a game of footy against the best teams in the competition. And what I'm starting to really see more now than ever, because we've entered this new phase with the group where the expectation is even higher than what it was, is how important each possession is. It's so hard to win these games, and we've lost a couple in a row against two of the teams that are going to be right up there, have the respect of the competition, and that's that. Fortunately, there's a 6-day break, so we can move on pretty quickly. Doesn't get any easier next week. Back at the MCG against Melbourne, who play the ground really well, who defend really well, who punish off turnover really well. And yeah, Vossi in his press conference was certainly not as... I'm sure he was frustrated, but he didn't allow that to come through in his press conference. I'm sure it would have been a different conversation behind closed doors. I mean, last week talked about the standards, they're lifted, that was unacceptable. This week, a different type of energy from him. He mentioned that we'd be getting McGovern, Martin, and Marchbank, whether it was next week or over the next few weeks. So we'll get a bit of that back. We've got to move on. Well done to Collingwood. Damn. Said it in the preview. Sometimes you can want something too much, that you forget the basics. And that was a nice reminder, a harsh reminder of that last night. So that's footy. Fuck, man. Whatever. How about you? How'd you experience that game last night, where you were? There's a lot going on. Thought the touch before the game was powerful. It's an important message for something that's happening in society. It was really unfortunate to hear what happened at the end of the game with the girls. Got abused, intimidated by a group of Collingwood supporters, and that's not all Collingwood supporters, so you can't paint that brush. I'm sure there were things going on in the crowd from both supporters that were, not acceptable. The reality is there's so much tension and there's so much passion for this rivalry. You mix that with the atmosphere, you mix that with the adrenaline, the alcohol, whatever else, and yeah, you see some ugly scenes spill out after the game. I guess for all the stories I've heard from back in the day, these games in particular, how intense it was, and there was this fear of going to Vic Park and what would happen there. It, kind of spilt out there. I think what's important is that we can't have that happen, and if you see the girls, you got to protect them. Particularly when you see something like that. I didn't see it happen, but hopefully they're okay. It's unfortunate to be talking about it, particularly after what had happened pre-game. And we'll go again. Life's tough, mate. At least it wasn't Jamie Elliott this time. Fucking hell. Anyway, share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of that? How are you still feeling about the group? Do you still think we're on the right track? Do you think once we get a few more of our key players back that it'll look better or not? We'll chat about it there. Go Blues.